What chance does a privateer have?
Welcome to Supercross.
What do you say to a factory ride?
So since we're talking about 250s, let's just briefly kind of our concerns and let's just say who our first and on both coasts are, because it's real shitty that nobody's released any information and we're like 2-3 weeks from the season starting, and pretty much I would assume most of the teams have already signed their riders up for all the races, as far as prepaid, the entry fee and everything, but none of that information is released to the public, which is real shitty. So Cooksey, who do you think is going to win the East and West? And yeah, this might be all fucked up because of the fact that we could say something that a rider's on a different coast, etc. But let's just shoot, go.
Screw you teams, first off, for not choosing a coast one way or the other. The only one I'm going to talk about is Jet Lawrence, because he kind of told us what they were planning. And I'm not telling you dumbass teams to set it and then just, if a guy gets hurt, he just sits out. No. You can change it. But if you literally, all racing is a promotion for whatever you're sponsoring. These are marketing vehicles. You know how much free money you're giving away by not telling us what coast, so we can't promote your guys, your team, your sponsors? You're idiots because you think there's a competitive advantage. Guess what? We all know everybody, whatever jet's going, which is most likely west, if that's where they intend to go. We know all your good guys are going to want to go east because they want to stay away from him. No big deal. But just put it out there. Quit being little bitches and doing what others do. Like, what's that Mark Twain thing? If you're going the same, you're wrong. Well, listen, they're all doing the same dumb shit. Just tell us what coast you plan on. And if there's a change, no big deal. Just change. But let us talk about it. Let us promote your sponsors. And if you don't do that, you're an idiot.
Yeah, you are very, 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 you're on to something big here. Like, who's in control of all the PR for everything? Because, you know, if nobody's doing it, like, only the insiders know the information. And if we want to innovate and grow the sport, well, they need to do something differently. And it's
embarrassing that we don't know until the first time to qualifying who's riding in that.
And we're talking us three here. You guys more so than me are extremely, extremely knowledgeable on everything, you know, dirt bike related. It's pretty sad that we don't know and we're looking for the information. Like, the information should just be in front of us. Boom, boom, boom. Not have to go even digging for it and still can't find anything.
And the objection I get is, well, what if a guy gets hurt and we change coasts? No big deal. Make a change. That's fine. Then let us know you made the change.
Pop it on Instagram, do something, Facebook post, boom. Instantly, everyone retweets, all sorts of shit happens. And they know, oh, this guy's changed up. This guy's changed up. And then, but it's all this like hidden.
And then you got more impressions, Johnny, more impressions for your sponsors, more impressions for your dollars. Come on,
there's no such thing as bad press. And let's just say, like, your riders get injured. And so then people start talking about, like, oh, they're not going to win. They're not going to do anything because they're bad, you know? And then when they do exceed expectations, then that's even another thing to write PR about. It's ridiculous. And this is one of those reasons where pessimistic Johnny is just like, there's nobody in the sport, you know, because we don't advertise to other outside industries, because the biggest problem with, biggest problem with this sport is no big outside sponsor. When you look at numbers, they want to go, okay, what am I getting in return? If I give you money, you say you're going to show me in front of just this small genre of collective audience that you have showing. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. So then you've got VP Race Fuels, you've got Renthal, whatever. They're like, oh yeah, because we're selling to these consumers. You're never going to get outside sponsors unless you grow the audience. And one of the reasons why we're not growing the audience is because nobody's freaking, even if you make a mistake in a press release, it's still out there. We live in a society where nothing has to be perfect right now. It's more about, like you said, impressions, clicks. Okay. So as far as people giving me shit and Jace shit about too, is it's the clickbait stuff. You need to have that. That's just the world we live in. We live in a world of our attention span is 15 seconds. And so I've probably lost everybody, including you and Rob, by this small little digression on everything. That's just where it's at. I would say Jet is for sure going to win the West Coast. The East Coast, I'm going to say it's a Yamaha guy. You know, I think Colt, he's going to stay East because he's the champ over there. He wants to wear the number one. At least I would. So I would say he's going to win the East. But boom, there we have it. Rob, your thoughts?
I want to go back on just something that you were talking about. What I always say with my athletes is I'm never going to have an injury be hidden, because think about it. If you know that you're racing me and I've come back from an injury and I beat your ass, you're thinking, wow, you just beat me and you're at 85%. When you're healthy, I'll have nothing for you. Think about the sports psychology side of that. I mean, nobody wants to race injured. Unfortunately, our sport requires it, especially when you're a professional and your contract mandates it. So think about it this way. Go ahead, Johnny.
I'm just being devil's advocate
Yeah.
here. Let's just say your knee is fucked up. If
Yep.
I know your knee is fucked up and I know which knee it is, well, I might come in and stuff you on that side knowing that you're hurt. So I think it could go both ways. I think that's why some guys
it can go both
hold
ways,
off
100%.
their little injury there. But
Yeah.
I see your point, you know.
Well, especially when somebody comes back and they're like, wow, first race back being healthy, and all of a sudden you stomp me. Oh, shoot. I'm now, as Jet Lawrence likes to say, I'm getting free rent in their head, because I've been able to prove that I came back, and I came back stronger, strong enough to be able to beat you. Now we get into the reverse psychology of, damn, he's injured, just coming off of an injury, and comes out firing on all 8 cylinders. So we get into that constant mental headspace. Again, going back to Jeff Emick's comment about momentum versus a points lead, I'm always going to go for that. Chris, did you have something before I give you my East and West?
No, I was going to say, Johnny, these guys all know who's hurt. It's us that doesn't know. It's the fans, the media, the other riders know when somebody's hurt. You trying to tell me that they didn't know Roxon's arm was messed up, and they know the guys they can bully.
No, but when you're out on the track and when it is happened, as far as I disagree with you. As far as if it's a small little nagging injury, they're going to try to keep it away from the other riders because they don't want the riders to exploit it, because all motorcycle racing is ego, and we don't want to give another, especially competitor, an edge on us because it's a big dick measuring contest. So yes, we all know that Roxon, when there's a catastrophic, people know something like that happens. But if you have like a little nagging, twisted my knee kind of thing, because they all have something, they're all not going to like go to breakfast together and be like, oh, what hurt? They might to a small group of people, but collectively, I disagree.
Fair enough.
Respectively disagree. And, you know,
I accept.
Okay. All right.
So, like you said, not to reiterate what you guys have already, the only person that we know on the West Coast with any confidence is Jet. Even if we knew there were 75 guys on the West Coast, I'm going with Jet hands down. And I can only go through deductive reasoning. If Jet's going to be on West, and that means Hunter's on the East, and that's my pick for East Coast.
Well, I'm going to say if Max Voland is opposite Jet, he gets multiple wins. I don't know about the title, but he's going to get multiple wins.
Ooh,
agreed.
yeah.
Now,
He's the only factory KTM too, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Now, here's the only footnote. We kind of alluded to it earlier. Depends how exhausted Max gets. You know, if he can hold the load of the new program that he's being put under, the only saving grace, of course, is his dad and his uncle that have enough personal insight. And I think they've got a pretty, I don't want to say a tight leash, but I don't think that they're going to let Max get overworked. And that's going to be the saving grace for Max himself.
What do you guys think is the best team? Because we all know that there's like a shit ton of
250
Cowie riders and
250 wise.
250 rise. Yeah. There's a lot of who's on the Cowie side. You've got what?
Seth Haymaker, Shimoda, Faulkner, McAdoo, and Jet Reynolds.
Yeah, that's a lot of guys. And then the Yamaha guys, you've got what?
Nichols, Cooper, Nichols, Thrasher, and Kitchen.
Yeah, it's a lot of guys.
Pretty hard to argue against both of those teams. And then 2 heavy hitters with the Lawrence brothers at Honda, you know, and then you've got Moseman and Pierce Brown at Gas. So, and then we can't forget about Husqvarna. You've got Jalik, Hampshire, and Styles Robertson. And I don't know if they're bringing that Joshua Variez back?
I
It's
hope
going to
so.
be, I still think it's going to be Honda, Yamaha, though, those two teams with those guys.
At least for Supercross, but we don't know what the pairing up of the coasts are going to look like.
Unless,
I think Troy Lee guys are going to get in there.
really?
Yeah. Well, they got the Wilhelm magic, right, Coach?
Yeah, I think he does magic. I've never met the man. I've never talked to the guy, but the momentum shift when he went over there last year was pretty astounding. Here's the thing to keep in mind, guys. We have 15 factory 450 riders. We have 23 factory 250 riders for 20 spots. Now, again, we've got to go East Coast, West Coast. Let's assume that there's an even split, but think about that.
So it's over 44 spots.
Well, let's just look at this. Let's round it. Let's say you have 23 guys and you have to split that amongst two coasts just for even math. That's 12. So it only leaves 8 spots, non-factory riders in a 250 main event, both coasts.
Yeah. Well, the 250s, though, I mean, I hate to say this, but the attrition rate is much higher because the dudes are kind of crazier.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that'll drop after 1 or 2 rounds.
Yeah, but team-wise, to your question, though, Johnny, I mean, I still have to go with Yamaha only because of the experience. You've got J Mart, returning champ, Cooper, Kent champion, Nichols champion. There's 3 on one team.
Yeah, they're allowing 22 guys on the gate now, right?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure they are.
And then, when you go back to pro circuit, Seth Hamaker comes in healthy this year. He won races, got rookie of the year. We know he can win. The guy that I think is going to surprise a lot of people is going to be Joe Shimoda. I think his agent, Lucas, did a phenomenal job. He got him a multi-year deal with Cowie. You got to think back just last year. Lucas Myrtle turned over every rock he could to get him being Shimoda onto that pro circuit team. Ends up being the top performer indoors and outdoors. Now he has a 2-year deal. Shimoda has 0 pressure. He has 2 years to just go out and simply race his ass off, which if we look ahead, think about musical chairs in the 450, people aging out, people moving on. Joe Shimoda will be in a perfect position because we know that Kawasaki has a big affinity towards Joe.
And then who has the most pressure on Cowie? It's Faulkner.
Faulkner, hands down. And you got to remember, Faulkner's been promised a 450 deal somewhere, somehow before his career is over. So my little...
I didn't know that.
My little prediction is don't be surprised if you see a 450 Cowie sitting next to Pro Circuit's tent, just like Brock Tickle did by the end of the summer.
Yeah, so I guess talking a little bit about Faulkner, is it the swinging of the tide, or is he really still one of the guys to really beat? Because we were talking about like our whole prediction with Tomac, how guys weren't afraid to push him out of the way. That happened like last year with Faulkner, where guys were like,
no one's afraid of him. Nobody's afraid of him
him
anymore. No. And I think when you look at, and again, we're talking a lot of moving parts here. There was a time when everybody wanted to be on PC because they had the fastest bikes. Now everybody wants to be on Yamaha because they have the fastest bikes. Well, now you add last year, we literally saw the Hondas. Let's go back 2 seasons. Think about J Mart on the Honda chasing down Ferrandas. We knew that the Yamaha was way faster. Then all of a sudden last season, the Hondas come out and now you got Jet leading some races. So they showed that they bridged that horsepower game. Then you had the Cowies in there. So we don't see that huge disparity between the Yamahas and all the other different colors. So then you bring in Faulkner. Bikes are more on par, more aggressive guys. Not many people afraid of them. I think you're going to see him get pushed out.
The Yamaha, Mitch Payton, do you think that they're going to have the fastest bike this season? I mean, they've had a couple years to try to catch up with the whole Yamaha crew. I would like to see it, but I think we can all agree here that as far as between the Hondas, the Cowies, and the Yamahas, that the Cowies are still going to be the slowest of the 3 bikes.
Would agree with that.
How good is that Club MX bike? Because I think Garrett Marchbanks could easily win races and
really
he's won before, and if the bike's good enough, he can get podiums. Yeah. He got podiums last year.
He did. I just think he needs just a little bit extra effort.
Well,
from a team. I
think you have I would agree with you, Johnny. Team wise, I think they're getting more parts this year from Yamaha since they did so well the last 2 seasons. What concerns me about him is he's sick. Being diagnosed with Addison's disease, that's another a blood-related disease associated with fatigue. Most of us know Epstein-Barr, chronic fatigue, Addison's disease. Those are hard to come by, hard to recover from. Is it impossible to recover from it? No. But is it difficult? Absolutely. And how much of that gets into your head, because you don't know how hard you can push without having a setback. We, as an analytics company, that's what we analyze behind the scenes as we look at heart rate and fatigue levels and sleep cycles and all kinds of analytics. These fatigue-related issues, Epstein-Barr, chronic fatigue, Addison's, this shit should not be happening at this tip of the spear.
Well, I mean, look at how fast Supercross is coming. It just felt like motocross was just over with.
Yep.
Like there's no time to. That's why I'm surprised to hear that Marv really wanted an outdoor ride when really, I think as far as the longevity of a career, you want to go Supercross only. I mean, even look at McGrath. That's why he's the king of Supercross, is because he wasn't ridden hard and put away wet. Yeah, he did win a motocross championship, but he knew what his bread and butter was. He knew where the majority of the money was, and he just stuck with it,
I totally agree.
Yeah, and I've been beating that drum for a while. I think they should be considered two completely separate sports.
Honestly, I agree. They should. I mean, they kind of technically are, because it's not like you can have a motocross pro license and you can go ride Supercross. They're two different. So they should be split. You know what, Chris? That is the smartest effing thing you have said this entire time.
Oh, you're such a dick, Johnny.
Well, and think about this though, Johnny. You have to go race a motocross race to get your Supercross.
Yeah, it's
license.
Stupid. It's stupid.
So
are they separate?
I don't know.
Separate subject, Johnny. The futures. So these guys are qualifying, and they're going to run on the night show on a real track. Now you got some of the guys. What's the guy? Ryder D, Chance Hymas, that are able to practice on real Supercross tracks. But these dudes in 18th, 19th, 20th, are they going to even have Supercross suspension? Like, what's going to happen with these kids out there in front of a giant crowd?
It's going to be carnage. It's going to be disgusting carnage is what it's going to be.
Yeah. The scariest thing is trying to ride a full-blown Supercross track on moto stuff. The biggest confidence boost on a Supercross track is suspension all day, every day, over motor, over anything, is that suspension. Because but
suspension on what? On a practice track. Who the hell's got it to scale Supercross track? And the quality,
that's what we're talking about.
No, I agree with you, but that's where there's this disparity. Anybody can go buy Supercross suspension, relatively speaking, right?
Yeah.
But not many people can afford to build a professional Supercross track. So you've got the suspension, but no place to practice it. That's the problem that I have with it. I'm completely aghast at this whole situation because I have 3 riders that have qualified for the futures races on a motocross track. One qualified for Arlington, 2 qualified for Atlanta. What the hell?
That's where the whole amateur thing, where we should do, like where we have Ponca, where we have Loretta Lynn, where we have all this stuff. These should be 2 different sports, where we have a Loretta Supercross, we have like a Ponca Supercross, we have all this stuff that's just designated just for that, because they are completely different.
We're back to the same problem, though. Are you asking those venues to create a Supercross track, whether it's somewhat an arena in between full scale and arena cross, somewhere in between? They should have a separate racetrack like Mini-O's does.
Well, let me just say this. They kind of had this pre-COVID with the futures, and it was wiped out. And I'm sure if they can get COVID under control, the futures for everybody will come back.
Yeah, well, I think the futures was the way they had it before was stupid. You had like a laid back Supercross track where it was sheer just way speed, where it wasn't like to scale. And I think the best thing that they did was honestly like the arena cross to help set up for getting your Supercross license. I thought
Yeah,
that
the,
was
the road
best.
to Supercross.
Yeah.
But let me play devil's advocate though. Even when they had the road to Supercross, there's still a significant difference between going arena cross to full scale motocross, or excuse me, full scale Supercross. So now the futures qualifiers have gone away. They weren't making any money, which is understandable. But we're bringing futures back, but we're doing it by having them qualify on a motocross track and then race. And I want to make sure I'm not convoluting the conversation. These riders are going to go onto a full scale Atlanta Supercross track, qualifying on a motocross track with no place to train for an at scale Supercross track. Because as an amateur, I'm a B rider. I can't go because in California they have
You got to have your license.
You have to have your license, but I can't get on a to scale Supercross track because I don't have a license, but yet I'm going to go race a futures track that's a full scale Supercross track. Am I missing something in this equation?
Okay. I wasn't there, but I believe here in Arizona at ACP, they've got a full scale Supercross track. And I think they did do some qualifying races for the futures on there. And hearing from a few guys, a bunch of fucking people got hurt. Like it was just complete carnage because nobody was set up for it. And
let's take your point. You and Chris can run circles around me on a Supercross track. You guys both get hurt because of the attrition. I qualify. I'm not nearly as capable as you are, but I qualified. Is that the group of people you want to go see? And yet that's supposed to be the future of the sport. What's that doing for the mindset of the people? This is going to be like a shit show. This is a clown show.
Yeah.
Because to Chris's point and yours, outside of those four guys at our factory, Hayden Deegan, Hamas, Alt Chance and those guys, who gets a chance to practice on a full scale Supercross track with suspension with, I know there's certain riders out there like Jet works with Jeff Ward and, those guys have that experience.
This is one of those like the rich get richer type scenarios where the riders at hand, the Deegans, these guys that have access to full blown team Supercross stuff and everything, they're going to have such a big advantage over just a local kid because they don't have access to any of that stuff. So, the liberal in me, as far as like, how do you gap it, making it more fair for everyone to be able to participate in something like that. And just off the top of my hand, because again, this is all canon, no scripted, is like the Kicker Arena Cross. It's a fairly mellow Supercross track that's it's closer to Arena Cross than it is Supercross, but it's still a bigger than an Arena Cross track. And it's more tamed down than even an Arena Cross track and way more tamed down than a Supercross track. Because usually Arena Cross tracks have bigger whoops than Supercross. Sometimes there's been some big, all I'm saying is that would be a good way of putting them up to maybe having the future qualifiers on a kind of track like that. So you can get your feet wet just a little bit before you just totally pucker your ass cheek when you go into a full blown Supercross, because it's just way out of the realm of, oh, fuck, this is scary.
But are you talking about entertainment or are you talking about growing the sport?
I'm talking about growing the sport.
All right, two different things. Because there is zero infrastructure I have 3 clients right now that are trying to get their pro Supercross card and not one person can tell them how to do it. If you call AMA, they say call MX Sports. If you call MX Sports, they say call Feld. What the hell does Feld
emails back?
What the hell does Feld have to do on qualifying standards for a pro racer? They're an entertainment company. Why the hell would it be Feld's responsibility?
Yeah, no. It wouldn't be.
When you're talking about growing the sport, there's not a kid playing Pee Wee football. There's not a kid playing whatever the young baseball team, whatever that level is called, right? There's not one of those players that are out there that don't hope to make it to the NFL, the Major League Baseball, whatever it is. So that's where I get completely dumbfounded. We're sitting here talking in real terms right now. There is no infrastructure to get from A to C. You're an amateur trying to get to Supercross. Motocross is in the middle. You can be a very good amateur motocross racer and get a pro outdoor card, but you can't make it to the place that supposedly pays more money, Supercross. And this isn't a witch hunt on anybody.
Yeah.
I have tried to help these athletes figure it out. And literally everybody says, call the other guy. You call the other guy. And again, props to Feld. They say, we're an entertainment company. We can't say that you're capable of doing this. We assume that if you show up with a card, you can do what we built. But where is the infrastructure?
Yeah, it's
dumbfounding.
We're way digressing. But there's like a bubble of something that's happening. There's going to be a big catalyst of something to where, either the sport dies or the sport innovates in some catastrophic way and kind of be rebuilt from the ground up. That's kind of what we're watching, because it is stupid that even insiders don't even really know how to obtain this information on what to do. Even the rules are set guidelines that are always changing type crap. But
yep.
Do we have anything else we want to talk about before we? Will you guys brop with me? You guys want to do that?
I will.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. And then, Chris, did you want to just take here? Maybe.
What are you talking
edit
about, Johnny?
this smaller.
No, edit. Leave it in. What do we got going?
All right. So let's for the viewers and everybody, try to make this super awkward. Hey, no, Cooksy, do you want to be the electric bike? And then, no, I'm just kidding. I was being a dick. But let's all drop the valves because we're mixing ass and we're hauling gas, drinking gas. Let's prop it.
Stuff, Johnny.
Take his front wheel out. If I ran into you, I'd actually, and then I'd crash, and then I'd be all flipping you off and then I'd go get some other bigger guys in the pits, and be like, hey, that dude, like 4 verse 1. That's that.
Good stuff, guys.
Awesome, Johnny. Way to go, Coach.
Full podcast will be uploaded to my YouTube channel in the next couple of days. But if you want to hear the full audio recording, head over to Cooksy and the Coach, where you get your podcast, also in the description.